Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mina and today I am finally sitting down and doing like an actual talking video as opposed to filming a reading vlog, which has been what my channel has been for the past like couple of months. I just don't enjoy doing sit down videos as much as reading vlogs, so that's why these types of videos are not as prevalent on my channel. But my husband actually suggested that I sit down and do this video, and it was kind of like a last minute idea, so hopefully I'll be able to film, edit, and upload this today because today is Valentine's Day. So for those of you who celebrate, happy Valentine's Day. I hope you guys have a really wonderful day. If you don't celebrate, I hope you have a wonderful day anyway. And that kind of actually brings me to the concept of this video. So I posted a picture on my Bookstagram, I think it was about like a week ago, and I basically rounded up a bunch of books that I felt were anti-romance. And what I mean by that is books that have some sort of relationship or what seems to be a romantic plot line, but they don't end up being romantic. They actually end up being toxic, or they go wrong, or they just don't end up being a typical lovey-dovey type of romance. Now, if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that romance is not my genre. I do not really read contemporary romance, things like that. I read horror, I read thrillers, and I read sci-fi. So the purpose of that post was to show you guys that you don't only have to be reading romance during February or during Valentine's Day. And I made a list of books that you could read if you hate Valentine's Day and you don't want to celebrate and you just want to read something that's twisted and dark and moody. I've got a nice list of books for you guys here. So let's just jump into it. I will explain to you a little bit about what the book is about. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but just know going in that all of these books do end up with some kind of sour relationship towards the end of the novel. Okay, let's get started. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is a classic when it comes to thrillers, and I could not do this list without this book. That's why I am including it, and that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This is one of my favorite thrillers and novels of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm sure a lot of people who love thrillers have read this one and have enjoyed it. But Gone Girl is about a woman named Amy Dunn, and she is suspected to be missing and possibly have been murdered by her husband. And we get the perspectives of both Amy and her husband Nick. And Nick doesn't know what the heck is going on. He just thinks that his wife is missing, or she was kidnapped or killed. And we also get the perspective of like flashback moments from Amy leading up to her disappearance. So that's all I'm going to say. There is like a really big twist and reveal in this novel. I won't say what that is, but I'm sure most people who like thrillers have read this already, so you probably already know what that is. The reason why I'm including this on this list is because this features a very toxic relationship. It features a revenge plot, is all I'm going to say, and it's not very romantic. So I definitely think that this is a perfect example of a book that has some sort of romance relationship element to it, but it definitely goes wrong and it goes astray, and it's not the typical fall in love romance plot. It's so good. It's so juicy, and the writing is just, I'm just waiting for Gillian Flynn to come out with her next novel because I will literally read anything that this woman comes out with. So Gone Girl. The next book that I'm going to talk about on this list is American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. This is another one of those infamous literary picks, or if you've seen the film, you probably know what this is about. But this is the story of Patrick Bateman. He is a businessman and he works in New York City. And what's interesting about him is that he is a psycho, like literally a psycho. He thinks about killing people and hurting them, strangling them, all that kind of stuff. And he does end up killing people in this novel. And the reason why I chose this is because it lacks romance. Like, this book has no romance. There are some like sex scenes, very, very explicit and intense sex scenes. So please know that going into this. Do not pick this up if you are younger than like 18, because there's some really adult content in here, but it kind of just like disregards the whole idea of romance and a relationship and courtship, and it's just about this guy who wants to hurt and murder people, and he doesn't care about women. He's misogynistic, he degrades them. So if you're looking for something really dark, really gruesome, really bloody, and completely anti-romantic, definitely would recommend American Psycho. The next book I'm going to talk about is You by Carolyn Kepnes, and I have mentioned this book in a previous video, and the next book that I'm going to talk about also in a previous video. They're kind of like companion novels, I guess you could say. They have a very similar plot line. You follows Joe Goldberg, who is a stalker, and it takes place in New York City. He meets a woman that he falls in love with at a bookstore. He basically stalks her, tricks her into getting into a relationship with him, and a bunch of crazy and psychotic, intense things start happening. And that's all I'm going to say. This is a Netflix series. I'm sure you've probably watched it if you like thrillers or horror or anything like that. But this is the perfect book for an anti-romantic book list, because even though it starts off seemingly romantic and lovey and like just beautiful and nice, it turns out that he is a stalker, and he will do everything he can and stop at nothing to be with the person that he loves or that he's obsessed with. So this is like the perfect anti-Valentine's Day book. This is not a good relationship. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Perfect Days by Rafael Montes. And again, I've also mentioned this in conjunction with You in a previous video. This is also the story of a stalker, and it has a very similar plotline, except in this story, our main character, again, tricks the woman that he's obsessed with into dating him and to being in a relationship with him, and he kidnaps her and takes her on a vacation that is based on a screenplay that the woman has written. So he's basically trying to recreate the romance movie that the woman has written, and he wants the two of them to be the main characters, but obviously he's a psycho. He kidnapped her against her will. He is obsessed with her. He is a stalker. So this is another one of those toxic anti-romantic relationships, and it's very dark. It's very gritty and gruesome, and it's just so good. I absolutely love this one. I feel like it does not get a lot of hype. It's not an American book, and I think it was actually first written in Spanish, so this is a translation, which is why I think not a lot of people know about this book, but I really, really recommend this one, especially if you liked You by Carolyn Kepnes. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. The pink in this totally reflects Valentine's Day today, but the contents of this book do not. So if you're looking for something that is anti-romantic and anti-Valentine's Day, I would definitely recommend Lock Every Door. And there is a little bit of a budding romance kind of happening within this story. It's not the central focus, but it is one of the subplots. However, I will say that things do not turn out exactly as the main character expected. There's a little bit of suspicion that she has for the man that she's interested in, so that's why I think that this would work really well with this list. If you're not familiar with the plot line of Lock Every Door, this is about a girl who is desperately in need of money and a place to stay, and so she answers an ad for a job opening asking somebody to house sit or like watch an apartment that is vacant. And the apartment is located in one of the most famous and fanciest New York City apartments in Manhattan, and it's basically a place where a bunch of wealthy people, a bunch of famous people and celebrities live in, and you cannot get in there unless you live there or you know somebody that lives in there. So basically, once she gets into that apartment building, she starts to realize that there are a lot of mysteries and secrets involving this apartment building. There's a lot of like dark past associated with this place. And she also learns some interesting and creepy information about the woman who previously stayed in the same apartment that she is currently staying in. So it's dark, it's twisty, it's got that weird, creepy romance. Is it a romance? Is it something dark kind of feeling throughout? And I think that this is an excellent vibe for anybody who does not want to get into the romantic Valentine's Day spirit. And the last book that I have for you guys is one that I read recently and one that I really, really enjoyed. It is also one that is going to become a Netflix adaptation, I believe this week, so read it as quickly as you can so that you can watch the TV show, and that is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. This is the story about a woman who meets a man at a bar, she kisses him, she sort of develops a crush, and she realizes the next day that he turns out to be her new boss. In addition to that, navigating that sort of like inappropriate relationship and having that experience with him in the bar, she bumps into his wife one day and befriends his wife. And she kind of gets caught within this, it's not a love triangle, but it's like this relationship triangle where she's kind of trying to be a faithful and loyal friend to the wife, but she's also still kind of attached and romantically involved with the husband. So it is like a cheating affair plot, which is definitely not my type of plot. I don't like reading about those things, especially in thrillers. I just find it cliche and overdone, and sometimes it's just like too messy and dramatic for me. But there is a lot darker and sinister themes going on in this book. I'm not going to get into the craziness that happens in the second half of this book, but I will say that this book is partly speculative. So there are some elements in here that are not realistic, not based in reality. So just know that going in, and I think you will enjoy it more, because I know that there were a couple of people who gave this lower ratings and bad reviews because they didn't appreciate the speculative aspects about this book. However, I think that's what makes the book, in my opinion, so I really enjoyed that part. It is just so crazy. The events at the end are insane and just wild is all I can say, but there is a little bit of discussion of lucid dreaming, like controlling your dreams, and astral projection. There's a lot of like dark history going on involving the wife and the husband. Is their relationship toxic? Is their relationship abusive? There's questions about that, so please know that going in. But this is an excellent book if you're looking for something that is anti-romantic, that features a relationship that is not typical, that is dark, that is gritty, that is moody, and that's toxic. So definitely would recommend this one if you were looking for something to not associate with Valentine's Day. Okay, so those are all of the books that I have on my anti-romantic book starter pack list. I hope you guys enjoyed those picks. A lot of them are pretty well known, like You and Gone Girl and American Psycho, but I do think they are perfect if you are somebody who just does not get the hype of Valentine's Day, if you are somebody who would just rather watch horror movies and slashers instead of watching rom-coms and like Pride and Prejudice and things like that on Valentine's Day. I think this list would be perfect for you, and they're just excellent picks in general. So if you don't want to read them today on Valentine's Day or this month, definitely do pick them up because I recommend them all year round. But I thought it would be fun to do something opposite of Valentine's Day, since everybody is talking about their favorite romances and favorite romantic movies and things like that. I'm totally not into those things, so these are my picks for the opposite of romance. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below your recommendations for anti-romantic or anti-Valentine's Day books, and I will see you guys very, very soon in my next video. I hope that everybody has a wonderful day today. Bye guys.